Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Melanin Margin, the weekly chat show where conversations about race are never off the table. We're your hosts, Quaviondre Williams.
And Daquon Wilson.
So let's get into this week's conversation. What's hot on the table this week?
EGOT winner and co-host of The View, Whoopi Goldberg, was recently suspended from The View for 2 weeks following comments she made regarding the Holocaust. On the show, Goldberg stated, quote, "Let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. It's not about race. It's about man's inhumanity to man," end quote. Viewers took offense to her comments, including CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, who wrote, quote, "The Holocaust was about Nazi systematic annihilation of the Jewish people, who they deemed to be an inferior race," end quote. Goldberg released an apology on social media and on air the following day, stated, quote, "Words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people as they know and as you all know, because I've always done that," end quote. Despite the apology, ABC News President Kim Godwin released a statement writing, quote, "Effective immediately, I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks for her wrong and hurtful comments. While Whoopi has apologized, I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments. The entire ABC News organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues, friends, family, and communities," end quote. Andre, was Goldberg wrong in her comments? And do you think the suspension was justified?
I think that Whoopi Goldberg was absolutely wrong with what she said. I completely agree with that. Is that there was absolutely every problem with what she said because it was giving very much so all lives matter. Or if I had to really take a step back on this because at first I was heated, I was furious, but I had to take a step back and I was like, if a white person had said the same thing but used the term, slavery wasn't about race, it was about man's humanity to man. No, let's call it what it is. It was about race. So I absolutely agree that Whoopi Goldberg's statements were wrong, and I believe that she definitely owed an apology to the Jewish community. So I want to clarify that right there.
Right.
The reaction though, the suspension, not at all. I think that it really harkens back to what Amanda Seales said way back when on the what is it called, on the reel, where she said, "Why is it that Black people are the ones having to be made an example out of? Why does it start with us? Why are we the ones that have to be the standard as far as punishment goes?" And I think for the suspension, for her to reflect, I think that Whoopi Goldberg, as a Black woman, once she educated herself, was able to understand why she fucked up. So the fact that this white man, let's be real, we know that that's probably what it was, said, "We need you to reflect. We don't think that you apologizing twice was enough. We needed to reflect on what you said because it was bad." And it's like, instead of using this as an opportunity to maybe have people come onto the show and talk about the Holocaust, maybe using this as an opportunity to spotlight, Holocaust survivors and educate people, you chose to suspend someone and tell them to reflect, as in putting you in timeout. And it's like, what does it fails for me to understand what is that supposed to accomplish? And for me, it really does really feel like they're trying to check her. And it's like she's already been checked by the people who she hurt. She's already been checked by the people who she made the comments about. And The fact that so many other white professionals are able to have just the one apology and and sometimes not even real accountability for their statements, and are able to just skate by like it's nothing, and white people say, oh, just accept their apology. Just accept it. It's over. It's whatever. Like Shane Dawson, for example, who takes no accountability for what he has done, who takes no accountability for what he has said, and just, oh, mental health. But Whoopi Goldberg clarified and stated, yes, I fucked up. I said what I said and it was wrong. And I understand that now. And I do apologize for that. The fact that they felt they had to go to the extra mile doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, there's something a little fishy about it. But I completely agree that in this statement, Whoopi was wrong. 100%, just like factually wrong. When we think about, Jewish people across the world, I think that this is not to defend Whoopi, but I think that this viewpoint came from a very just like modern and American viewing of race.
Exactly.
Being like, oh, it's not about race, but race is a social construct.
Exactly.
And with that means, depending on whatever time it was, race can be constructed different. See Jewish people as a race. During the Holocaust, they saw them as an inferior race because they said that they can just go into somebody's home and look at them and figure out if they're Jewish and send them to a concentration camp. It doesn't matter if you are practicing the religion actively or not, because even if your great-grandfather was practicing Jewish person, you are still Jewish, and therefore it's in your blood. And so factually speaking, Whoopi Goldberg was wrong. And even just like the sentiment behind it, oh, it's not about race, it's man's inhumanity to man. Just like, I think that also comes from a place where people just love comparing things to the Holocaust. I'm just like, because I think the conversation came out of this book that was banned that was talking about the Holocaust. I think it's Mouse. And the conversation was kind of flowing about other banned books like To Kill a Mockingbird and, comparing it to like racism. And that's how it got brought up. And it's just like, the Holocaust was a horrendous thing, period. There's no need to compare it to anything else because it's just a horrendous act. And so I think that in terms of, is the suspension justified? This is not a take that I would usually have, but I think it was. Only in the sense that when you say something horrific, there should be action with the apology. Whether that's you apologize and you say, I'm doing X, Y, and Z to, deal with my actions, what I said, or I am taking the action myself to deplatform myself for a while, reflect, learn. I think that there needs to be action behind it. So I do think that the 2 weeks suspension, fine. However, I want the same energy going forward. I want the same energy for every Meghan McCain comment, for every other problematic comment that gets said on a show, because let's be honest, so many problematic things have been said. So I'm not trying to minimize how problematic this action was, because it was problematic and the, judgment was justified. But I want to make sure that this is a precedent that keeps going forward.
And that's my reason for saying that it wasn't justified, because I feel like it again feels like we're starting with a Black person versus starting with the people who have always been the issue. And I want to clarify something too. I just researched it. I just Googled Kim Goodwin, the ABC executive, is a Black woman. who made this decision, which also changes the narrative for me a little bit differently as well. So look at us educating ourselves in the middle of the episode. But
yeah, I noted that, but I also think that like we can't just say that this was her decision by herself. There's probably other people in the
exactly board. But it does come from a different place when it is someone who looks like you who's made the decision as well. So I think that if it was Kim, now looking at it from this perspective, with a Black woman being one of the main people who had made this decision, it does feel it feels more like you said before, trying to set a precedent. And so it's saying that should this happen again, this is what's going to happen, and this is going to be the actionable offense. But I also wonder, how long has Kim Goodwin been the ABC executive, and all the things that Meghan McCain has said and all these things, like, has she been there long enough to have also used that same precedent for those other statements that have been made? That's right. It's really a very complicated topic, because like I said before, in the situation, while I do understand the idea of having an actionable punishment for saying something like this, I also think that the idea of using Whoopi as the starting point of this new narrative, it gives very much so, like I said before, we're starting with, like with Amanda Seale's sentiment, we're starting with Black women, we're starting with a Black person to start having these actionable consequences. That's, for me, that is the sole reason as to why I think it wasn't justified, because it feels very much so the energy of, we're going to start with Black people as the person that we're going to put all the things, going back to the Jussie Smollett situation where they're going to throw the book at him. And it's like, you're throwing the book at him, but you haven't thrown the book at Karens all across the world who have called the police for no reason at all. You're throwing the book at Whoopi, once again, not saying that the book shouldn't have been thrown. Not saying the book shouldn't have been thrown, but we are not seeing those same actionable punishments for every single person who has done that, or every single person who has made a offensive remark. Does that make sense there?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And for clarity, Kim Godwin became president in April of 2021.
Okay, so this is new. So she just started. Okay, so again, that adds another layer to it too. So, but yeah, like I said, it's very much so. It frustrates me that now is the time that we're starting to give people the proper punishments for their actions. And it frustrates me that people like Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, and so on and so forth have these big, massive platforms and have had no kind of actionable punishment for their statements and for the things that they've done. I mean, Shane Dawson has done full-on blackface on YouTube, and YouTube has not demonetized him. Jeffree Star has had several things. And like I said before, the thing that frustrates me about this also is the fact that Whoopi acknowledged what she said was wrong. Whoopi acknowledged that there is no excuse for what she said. She didn't say my mental health. I didn't know. She acknowledged the fact that I fucked up and I didn't understand clearly what I was saying until I had said it. It does not excuse what I have said. And also clarifying about the specifying 2 Jewish people. So it also gives, like I said, it feels like, again, everyone is saying, oh, we need to add another layer. She needs more punishment because of this X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I want you to keep that same energy all around. I just don't want I don't want Black women and Black men to have to be the starting point for punishments like this. Let's make this the standard. So if we're going to punish Whoopi, that's fine. If you're going to suspend because of those comments, that's fine. I better see that same energy if anybody else at the motherfucking panel fucks up too. That's all the fuck I'm saying.